If that's not controversial enough, how about low traffic neighbourhoods? Drive so many people bonkers. Though some people like them, has to be said. But they are a pain to many drivers. It could now be a problem for councils. But new framework from the Department of Transport is making sure that people will have a say on whether LTNs are introduced. So councils are going to have to really find out whether residents in an area actually want them or not. Let's talk to former racing driver and motoring journalist Amanda Stretton. Amanda, good to see you, as always, this morning. I'm surprised that councils were introducing them without any sort of consultation already, to be honest.
I know, it's an absolute mystery, isn't it? Because certainly in the area that I live, the which is in Oxford, the implementation of the low traffic neighbourhoods has been absolutely chaotic. It has meant that businesses are suffering. I mean, the report that we've seen today talks about the challenge that emergency services are having getting to people who actually need them. It's also impacting all the local businesses because people are being forced onto these main arterial routes. Those routes are now absolute gridlock. All the sort of small roads in the area as well, which have now been blocked off, can't be used. People simply cannot get about. And what's been happening are these low traffic neighbourhoods have been decided by people who don't live in the area. They don't understand the way traffic moves, the times of day. And it has therefore just led to absolute chaos. So it makes perfect sense that if these schemes are going to be introduced, they're actually introduced with the support of the people who it's going to affect.
Well, and that's going to be problematic, don't you think? Because once everybody has talked it, discussed it, and maybe consulted other LTN areas, most residents are not going to want it in their backyard.
Well, I mean, you're never going to get 100% consensus on anything. I mean, I think we all know that that's going to be the case, but it has to be looked at in balance. And I think you've got to understand, you know, if the vast majority of people are rejecting the proposal of a scheme that's due to be implemented, you've really got to question the viability and the sense in doing so. Now, there is no question that we've got a clean air problem, and these low traffic neighbourhoods are part of the solution to solve that. But the problem is air moves. So if the arterial routes going into a town are just even more congested than they would be, cars are sat idling with their engines running, it's actually the problem isn't going away, it's just being moved into a different road, and of course the air moves. So actually it's not benefiting anybody. We want to encourage people to cycle, absolutely, but actually by causing these huge congested blocks, these arteries, I really don't think that that's necessarily the way forward. And then you just have to look at the penalty charge notices, because these in some cases can be significant. They're around 36,000 on average in areas where these LTNs have been implemented, and as many as 170,000. I think that goes to show that it's not been well thought out, and people are really being forced with no choice.
Why are we having this conversation, Amanda? Because anyone with any
question.
Well, yeah, because anyone with any common sense would have looked at this from day one and gone, "This isn't going to work. This isn't the right idea."
The idea was to reduce, as the name suggests, these low traffic neighbourhoods, to encourage people to cycle, walk, and all the other road users to safely use the roads. The problem is we have too many cars, too many people, and our towns, which are basically designed on medieval principles, because many of them are, with these main arterial routes going in and out, simply don't work any other way. If you want to have a town that is totally car free, well, then that's great. That'll be fine. But if you actually have businesses in towns who rely on people being able to drive in and drive out, it's going to be a struggle, because people need to get to where they want to go. So they're now, as I say, being forced onto these main arterial roads in and out. Oxford is absolute gridlock most of the time.
Absolutely. Amanda, can I ask you something that's obviously about motoring, but nothing to do with that? There's a report in one of the papers today saying that manual cars are dying out and that we in Britain are doing more and more, passing our tests and becoming drivers who only drive either electric cars, which I gather typically don't have gearboxes, or just automatic cars. We're, in fact, learning how to do the stick shift and everything, as they call it, is dying out. Is that a problem?
Is it a problem? It really depends on which end of the telescope you're looking at the problem. I mean, what's happening is we are seeing many, many more young people learning how to drive in automatics. That's because they're looking ahead and they're saying, well, in the future, I'm only going to be driving an electric vehicle. And Anne, as you correctly said, electric vehicles don't have manual gearboxes. So therefore, they're looking at what lies ahead and they're saying, well, I only need to learn to drive an automatic. The downside of that is there are going to still be many countries which don't have the same implementation of EVs as we have here. So perhaps if you're hiring a car abroad, you may have a problem there as well. Learning to drive in a manual can be more complicated. Obviously, you've got more. There's more to learn. So the lessons, you potentially could need more lessons driving in a manual car, which of course adds some extra cost as well. So I think this is a sort of general shift because people are looking ahead at what the future is going to look like in terms of mobility and saying, well, why do I need to drive a manual? I mean, that doesn't go anywhere to say the joy of driving old cars, which of course are all manual, which I can wax lyrical about for a long time, but there we go.